Happy Friday. We are reading Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. We are halfway through chapter 3. And Ace is here. My hair is a mess. This is what we look like, but we're here to read. So where did we end off? Oh, Bill Tenner, because Bill Tenner wrote a letter and he got it into a magazine and he used to work there. So Whit closed the magazine impressively. Don't you remember Bill Tenner? Worked here about 3 months ago? Slim thought. Little guy? He asked. Drove a cultivator? That's him, Whit cried. That's the guy. You think he's the guy who wrote this letter? I know it. Bill and me was in here one day. Bill had one of them books that just come. He was looking in it and he says, I wrote a letter. Wonder if they put it in the book. But it wasn't there. Bill says, maybe they're saving it for later. And that's just what they done. There it is. Guess you're right, said Slim. Got it right in the book. George held out his hand for the magazine. Let's look at it. Whit found the place again, but he did not surrender his holding it. He pointed out the letter with his forefinger. And then he went to his box shelf and laid the magazine carefully in it. I wonder if Bill's seen it, he said. Bill and me worked in that patch of field peas, run cultivators, both of us. Bill was a hell of a nice fella. During the conversation, Carlson had refused to be drawn in. He continued to look down at the old dog. Candy watched him uneasily. At last, Carlson said, If you want me to, I'll put the old devil out of his misery right now and get it over with. Ain't nothing left for him. Can't eat, can't see, can't even walk without hurting. Hi. Candy said hopefully, You ain't got no gun. The hell I ain't. Got a Luger. It won't hurt him none at all. Candy said, Maybe tomorrow. Let's wait till tomorrow. I don't see no reason for it, said Carlson. He went to his bunk, pulled his bag from underneath it, and took out a Luger pistol. Let's get it over with, he said. We can't sleep with him stinking around in here. He put the pistol in his hip pocket. Candy looked a long time at Slim to try to find some reversal, and Slim gave him none. At last, Candy said softly and hopelessly, All right, take him. He did not look down at the dog at all. He lay back on his bunk and crossed his arms behind his head and stared at the ceiling. From his pocket, Carlson took a little leather thong. He stooped over and tied it around the old dog's neck. All the men except Candy watched him. Come on, boy, he said gently, and he said apologetically to Candy, He won't even feel it. Candy did not move nor answer him. He twitched the thong. Come on, boy. The old dog got slowly and stiffly to his feet and followed the gently pulling leash. Slim said, Carlson. Yeah? You know what to do. What you mean, Slim? Take a shovel, said Slim shortly. Oh, sure, I get you. He led the dog out into the darkness. George followed to the door and shut the door and set the latch gently in its place. Candy laid rigidly on his bed, staring at the ceiling. Slim said loudly, One of my lead mules got a bad hoof. Gotta get some tar on it. His voice trailed off. It was silent outside. Carlson's footsteps died away. The silence come into the room, and the silence lasted. George chuckled. I bet Lenny's right out there on the barn with his pup. He won't want to come in here no more now he's got a pup. Slim said, Candy, you can have any one of them pups you want. Candy did not answer. The silence fell on the room again. It came out of the night and invaded the room. George said, Anybody like to play a little euchre? I'll play out a few with you, said Whit. They took places opposite each other at the table under the light, but George did not shuffle the cards. He rippled the edge of the deck nervously, and the little snapping noise drew the eyes of all the men in the room, so that he stopped doing it. The silence fell on the room again. A minute passed, and another minute. Candy lay still, staring at the ceiling. Slim gazed at him for a moment and then looked down at his hands. He subdued one hand with the other and held it down. There came a little gnawing sound from under the floor, and all the men looked down toward it gratefully. Only Candy continued to stare at the ceiling. Sounds like there was a rat under there, said George. We ought to get a trap down there. Whit broke out. What the hell's taking him so long? Lay out some cards, why don't you? We ain't going to get no euchre played this way. George brought the cards together tightly and studied the backs of them. The silence was in the room again. A shot sounded in the distance. The men looked quickly at the old man. Every head turned toward him. For a moment he continued to stare at the ceiling. Then he rolled slowly over and faced the wall and lay silent. George shuffled the cards noisily and dealt them. Whit drew a scoring board to help him and set the pegs to start. Whit said, I guess you guys really come here to work. How do you mean? Said George. Whit laughed. Well, you come on Friday. You got 2 days to work till Sunday. I don't see how you figure, said George. Whit laughed again. You do if you've been around these big ranches much. A guy that wants to look over a ranch comes in Saturday afternoon. He gets Saturday night supper and 3 meals on Sunday, and he can quit Monday morning after breakfast without turning his hand. But you come to work Friday noon. You got to put in a day and a half no matter how you figure. George looked at him levelly. We're going to stick around a while, he said. Me and Lenny's going to roll up a steak. The door opened quietly, and the stable buck put in his head, a lean Negro head, lined with pain, the eyes patient. Mr. Slim. Slim took his eyes from old candy, Huh? Oh, hello, Crooks. What's the matter? You told me to warm up tar for that mule's foot. I got it warm. Oh, sure, Crooks. I'll come right out and put it on. I can do it if you want, Mr. Slim. No, I'll come do it myself. He stood up. Crooks said, Mr. Slim? Yeah. That big new guy's messing around with your pups out in the barn. Well, he ain't doing him no harm. I gave him one of the pups. Just thought I'd tell you, said Crooks. He's taking him out of the nest and handling him. That won't do him no good. He won't hurt him, said Slim. I'll come along with you now. George looked up. If that crazy bastard's fooling around too much, just kick him out, Slim. Slim followed the stable buck out of the room. George dealt, and Whit picked up his cards and examined them. Seen the new kid yet? He asked. What kid? George asked. Why, Curly's new wife. Yeah, I seen her. Well, ain't she a Lulu? I ain't seen that much of her, said George. Whit laid down his cards impressively. Well, stick around and keep your eyes open. You'll see plenty. She ain't concealing nothing. I never seen nobody like her. She got the eye going all the time on everybody. I bet she even gives the stable buck the eye. I don't know what the hell she wants. George asked casually. Been any trouble since she got here? It was obvious that Whit was not interested in his cards. He laid his hand down and George scooped it in. George laid out his deliberate solitaire hand. 7 cards and 6 on top, and 5 on top of those. Whit said, I see what you mean. No, they ain't been nothing yet. Curly's got yellow jackets in his drawers, but that's all so far. Every time the guys is around, she shows up. She's looking for Curly, or she thought she left something laying around and she's looking for it. Seems like she can't keep away from guys. And Curly's pants is just crawling with ants, but they ain't nothing come of it yet. George said, she's gonna make a mess. They's gonna be a bad mess about her. She's a jailbait all set on the trigger. That Curly got his work cut out for him. Ranch with a bunch of guys on it ain't no place for a girl, especially like her. Whit said, if you got ideas, you ought to come in town with us guys tomorrow night. Why? What's doing? Just the usual thing. We go into old Susie's place. Hell of a nice place. Old Susie's a laugh. Always cracking jokes. Like she says when we come up on the front porch last Saturday night. Susie opens the door and then she yells over her shoulder, get your coats on, girls. Here comes the sheriff. She never talked dirty neither. Got 5 girls there. What's it set you back? Asked George. 2.5. You can get a shot for 2 bits. Susie got nice chairs to sit in too. If a guy don't want to flop, why, he can just sit in the chairs and have a couple of 3 shots and pass the time of day, and Susie don't get no damn. She ain't rushing guys through and kicking them out if they don't want to flop. Might go in and look the joint over, said George. Sure, come along. It's a hell of a lot of fun, her cracking jokes all the time. Like she says one time, she says, I've knew people that if they got a rag rug on the floor and a Cupid doll lamp on the phonograph, they think they're running a parlor house. That's Clara's house she's talking about. And Susie says, I know what you boys want, she says. My girls is clean, she says. And there ain't no water in my whiskey, she says. If any of you guys want to look at a Cupid doll lamp and take your own chance getting burned, why, you know where to go. And she says, there's guys around here walking bow-legged because they like to look at a Cupid doll lamp. George says, Clara runs the other house, huh? Yeah, said Whit. We don't never go there. Clara gets $3 a crack and 35 cents a shot, but she don't crack no jokes. But Susie's place is clean and she got nice chairs. Don't let no goo-goos in neither. Me and Lenny rolling up a steak, said George. I might go in and sit and have a shot, but I ain't putting out no 2.5. Well, the guy's got to have fun sometime, said Whit. The door opened and Lenny and Carlson came in together. Lenny crept to his bunk and sat down, trying not to attract attention. Carlson reached under his bunk and brought out his bag. He didn't look at old Candy, who still faced the wall. Carlson found a little cleaning rod in the bag and a can of oil. He laid them on his bed and then brought out the pistol, took out the magazine, and snapped the loaded shell from the chamber. Then he fell to cleaning the barrel with the little rod. When the ejector snapped, Candy turned over and looked for a moment at the gun before he turned back to the wall again. Carlson said casually, Curly been in yet? No, said Whit. What's eating on Curly? Carlson squinted down the barrel of his gun. Looking for his old lady. I seen him going round and round outside. Whit said sarcastically, he spends half his time looking for her, and the rest of the time she's looking for him. Curly burst into the room excitedly. Any of you guys seen my wife? He demanded. She ain't been here, said Whit. I'm going to adjust my chair. She ain't been here, said Whit. Curly looked threateningly about the room. Where the hell's Slim? Went out into the barn, said George. He was going to put some tar on a split hoof. Curly's shoulders dropped and squared. How long ago he'd go? How long ago'd he go? That's what I said the first time. 5, 10 minutes? Curly jumped out the door and banged it after him. Whit stood up. I guess maybe I'd like to see this, he said. Curly's just spoiling or he wouldn't start for Slim. And Curly's handy, goddamn handy. Got in the finals for the Golden Gloves. He got newspaper clippings about it. He considered. But just the same, he better leave Slim alone. Nobody don't know what Slim can do. Think Slim's with his wife, don't he? Said George. Looks like it, Whit said. Of course, Slim ain't. At least, I don't think Slim is. But I'd like to see the fuss if it comes off. Come on, let's go. George said, I'm staying right here. I don't want to get mixed up in nothing. Lenny and me got to make a steak. Carlson finished the cleaning of his gun and put it in the bag and pushed the bag under his bunk. I guess I'll go out and look over for her, he said. Old Candy lay still, and Lenny from his bunk watched George cautiously. When Whit and Carlson were gone and the door closed after them, George turned to Lenny. What you got on your mind? I ain't done nothing, George. Slim says I better not pet them pups so much for a while. Slim says it ain't good for 'em, so I come right in. I've been good, George. I could have told you that, said George. Well, I wasn't hurting him none. I just had mine in my lap petting it. George asked, Did you see Slim out in the barn? Sure I did. He told me I better not pet that pup no more. Did you see that girl? You mean Curly's girl? Yeah. Did she come into the barn? No. Anyways, I never seen her. You never seen Slim talking to her? She ain't been in the barn. Okay, said George. I guess them guys ain't gonna see no fight. If there's any fighting, Lenny, you keep out of it. I don't want no fights, said Lenny. He got up from his bunk and sat down at the table across from George. Almost automatically, George shuffled the cards and laid out his solitaire hand. He used a deliberate, thoughtful slowness. Lenny reached for a face card and studied it, then turned it upside down and studied it. Both ends the same, he said. George, why is it both ends the same? I don't know, said George. That's just the way they make 'em. What was Slim doing in the barn when you seen him? Slim? Sure, you seen him in the barn and he told you not to pet the pup so much. Oh, yeah, he had a can of tar and a paintbrush. I don't know what for. You sure that girl didn't come in like she come in here today? No, she never come. George sighed. You give me a good whorehouse every time, he said. A guy can go in and get drunk and get everything out of his system all at once and no messes. And he knows how much it's going to set him back. These here jailbaits is just on the trigger of the hooskow. What is a hooskow? I don't know what that means. I also don't know what a hooskow is. Lenny followed his words admiringly and moved his lips a little to keep up. George continued, You remember Andy Cushman, Lenny? Went to grammar school? The one that his old lady used to make hotcakes for the kids? Said Lenny. Yeah, that's the one. You can remember anything if there's anything to eat in it. George looked carefully at the solitaire hand. He put an ace up on his scoring rack and piled a 2, 3, and 4 of diamonds on top of it. Andy's in San Quentin right now on account of a tart, George said. Lenny drummed on the table with his fingers. George? George, how long's it gonna be till we get that little place and live on the fat of the land and rabbits? I don't know, said George. We go to get a big steak together. I know a little place we can get cheap, but they ain't giving it away. Old Candy turned slowly over. His eyes were wide open. He watched George carefully. Lenny said, Tell about that place, George. You know, it's from Game of Thrones. I bought the whole Game of Thrones set years ago for like $40 from Walmart. And then I never read it and then I got rid of it. And now I think I maybe would have enjoyed keeping it. It's probably like at least $100 now. I've never watched and I've never read Game of Thrones. Lenny said, Tell about that place, George. I just told you just last night. Go on, tell again, George. Well, it's 10 acres, said George. Got a little windmill. Got a little shack on it and a chicken run. Got a kitchen, orchard, cherries, apples, peaches, apricots, nuts, and a few berries. There's a place for alfalfa and plenty of water to flood it. There's a pig pen and rabbits, George. No place for rabbits now, but I could easily build a few hutches and you could feed alfalfa to the rabbits. Damn right I could, said Lenny. Goddamn right I could. Keep it anyway then. I know, I don't have it anymore. I got rid of it. George's hand stopped working with the cards. His voice was growing warmer. And we could have a few pigs. I could build a smokehouse like the one Grandpa had, and when we kill a pig, we can smoke the bacon and the hams and make sausage and all like that. And when the salmon run up river, we could catch 100 of them and salt them down or smoke them. We could have them for breakfast. They ain't running nothing. They ain't nothing so nice as a smoked salmon. When the fruit come in, we could eat it. When the fruit come in, we could can it. And tomatoes, they're easy to can. Every Sunday we'd kill a chicken or a rabbit. Maybe we'd have a cow or a goat. And the cream is so goddamn thick, you gotta cut it with a knife and take it out with a spoon. Lenny watched him with wide eyes, and old Candy watched him too. Lenny said softly, "We could live off the fat of the land." "Sure," said George. "All kinds of vegetables in the garden, and if we want a little whiskey, we can sell a few eggs or something, or some milk. We just live there. We'd belong there. There wouldn't be no more running around the country and getting fed by a Jap cook. No, sir, we'd have our own place where we belonged and not sleep in no bunkhouse." "Tell about the house, George," Lenny begged. "Sure, we'd have a little house and a room to ourselves, a little fat iron stove, and in the winter we'd keep a fire going in it. It ain't enough land, so we'd have to work too hard, maybe 6-7 hours a day. We wouldn't have to buck no barley 11 hours a day. And we put in a crop, why, we'd be there to take the crop up. We know what come of our planting." "And rabbits," said Lenny eagerly. "And I'd take care of 'em. Tell how I'd do that, George." "Sure, you'd go out into the alfalfa patch and you'd have a sack. You fill up the sack and bring it in and put it in the rabbit cages." "They'd nibble and they'd nibble," said Lenny, "the way they do. I seen 'em. Every 6 weeks or so," George continued, them does would throw a litter so we'd have plenty of rabbits to eat and to sell. And we'd keep a few pigeons to go flying around the windmill like they done when I was a kid." He looked raptly at the wall over Lenny's head. "And it'd be our own, and nobody could can us. And if we don't like a guy, we could say, 'Get the hell out,' and by God, he's got to do it. And if a friend come along, why, we'd have an extra bunk and we'd say, 'Why don't you spend the night?' And by God, he would. We'd have a setter dog and a couple striped cats, but you gotta watch out them cats don't get them little rabbits." Lenny breathed hard. "You just let them try to get the rabbits. I'll break their goddamn necks. I'll smash them with a stick." He subsided, grumbling to himself, threatening the future cats which might dare to disturb the future rabbits. George sat entranced with his own picture. When Candy spoke, they both jumped as though they had been caught doing something reprehensible. Candy said, "You know where's a place like that?" George was on guard immediately. "Suppose I do," he said. "What's that to you?" "You don't need to tell me where it's at. Might be any place." "Sure," said George. "That's right. You couldn't find it in 100 years. Candy went on excitedly. "How much they want for a place like that?" George watched him suspiciously. "Well, I could get it for $600. Can you imagine the things I would do to get that sort of land for $600? I'd buy everybody a plot of land for $600. George watched him suspiciously. "Well, I could get it for $600. The old people that owns it is flat bust and the old lady needs an operation. Say, what's it to you? You got nothing to do with us."
What a book I've read when I was mid-school.
Yeah, yes, I also read this one in school. I just finished The Great Gatsby as well. It's interesting, the books that they have us reading in school. And I haven't read it in a while and I wanted to revisit it. So here I am. Candy said, "I ain't much good with only one hand. I lost my hand right here on this ranch. That's why they gave me a job swamping. And they gave me $250 because I lost my hand. And I got 50 more saved up right in the bank right now. That's 300. And I got 50 more coming at the end of the month. Tell you what." He leaned forward excitedly. "Suppose I went in with you guys. That's $350 I'd put in. I ain't much good, but I could cook and tend the chickens and hoe the garden some. How'd that be?" George half closed his eyes. "I got to think about that. We was always going to do it by ourselves." Candy interrupted him. "I'd make a will and leave my share to you guys in case I kick off, 'cause I ain't got no relatives nor nothing. You guys got any money? Maybe we could do that right now." George spat on the floor disgustedly. "We got $10 between us." Then he said thoughtfully, "Look, if me and Lenny work a month and don't spend nothing, we'll have $100. That'd be $450. I bet we could swing her for that. Then you and Lenny could go get her started and I'd get a job and make up the rest and you could sell eggs and stuff like that." "I'm late today, I think." "You are a little bit late, but that's okay. I'm glad you're here." They fell into a silence. They looked at one another amazed. The thing they had never really believed in was coming true. George said reverently, "Jesus Christ, I bet we could swing her." His eyes were full of wonder. "I bet we could swing her," he repeated softly. Candy sat on the edge of his bunk. He scratched the stump of his wrist nervously. "I got hurt 4 years ago," he said. "They'll can me pretty soon. Just as soon as I can't swamp out no bunkhouses, they'll put me out the country. Maybe if I give you guys my money, you'll let me hoe in the garden even after I ain't no good at it. And I'll wash dishes and little chicken stuff like that. And I'll be on our own place, and I'll let you work on our own place," he said miserably. "You seen what they done to my dog tonight? They says he wasn't no good to himself nor nobody else. When they canned me here, I wished somebody'd shoot me. But they won't do nothing like that. I won't have no place to go, and I can't get no more jobs. I'll have $30 more coming time you guys is ready to quit." George stood up. "We'll do her," he said. "We'll fix up that little old place and we'll go live there." He sat down again. They all sat still, all bemused by the beauty of the thing. Each mind was popped into the future when this lovely thing should come about. George said wonderingly, "Suppose there was a carnival or a circus to come to town, or a ball game, or any damn thing." Old Candy nodded in appreciation of the idea. "We'd just go to her," said George. "We wouldn't ask nobody if we could. Just say, 'We'll go to her,' and we would. Just milk the cow and sling some grain to the chickens and go to her." "And put some grass to the rabbits," Lenny broke in. "I wouldn't never forget to feed 'em. When we going to do it, George?" "In 1 month. Right squack in 1 month. Know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write to them old people that owns the place that we'll take it, and Candy'll send $100 to Bonder." "Sure will," said Candy. "They got a good stove there?" "Sure, got a nice stove, burns coal or wood." "I'm going to take my pup," said Lenny. "I bet by Christ he likes it there, by Jesus." Voices were approaching from outside. George said quickly, "Don't tell nobody about it. Just us three and nobody else. They're liable to can us, so we can't make no stake. Just go on like we was gonna buck barley the rest of our lives, and all of a sudden someday we'll go get our pay and scram out of here." Lenny and Candy nodded, and they were grinning with delight. "Don't tell nobody," Lenny said to himself. Candy said, "George?" "Huh?" "I ought to have shot that dog myself, George. I should not let no stranger shoot my dog." The door opened. Slim came in, followed by Curly and Carlson and Whit. Slim's hands were black with tar, and he was scowling. Curly hung close to his elbow. Curly said, "Well, I didn't mean nothing, Slim. I just asked you." Slim said, "Well, you've been asking me too often. I'm getting goddamn sick of it. If you can't look after your own goddamn wife, what you expect me to do about it? You lay off of me." "I'm just trying to tell you I didn't mean nothing," said Curly. "I just thought you might have saw her." "Why don't you tell her to stay the hell home where she belongs?" said Carlson. "You let her hang around bunkhouses, and pretty soon you're going to have something on your hands and you won't be able to do nothing about it." Curly whirled on Carlson. "You keep out of this, lest you won't step outside." Carlson laughed. "You goddamn punk," he said. "You tried to throw a scare into Slim, and you couldn't make it stick. Slim throwed a scare into you. You're yellow as a frog belly. I don't care if you're the best welter in the country. You come for me, and I'll kick your goddamn head off." Candy joined the attack with joy. "Glove full of Vaseline," he said disgustedly. Curly glared at him. His eyes slipped on past and lighted on Lenny, and Lenny was still smiling with delight at the memory of the ranch. Curly stepped over to Lenny like a terrier. "What the hell you laughing at?" Lenny looked blankly at him. "Huh?" Then Curly's rage exploded. "Come on, you big bastard. Get on your feet. No big son of a bitch is going to laugh at me. I'll show you who's yellow." Lenny looked helplessly at George, and then he got up and tried to retreat. Curly was balanced and poised. He slashed at Lenny with his left and then smashed his nose with his right. Lenny gave a cry of terror. Blood welled from his nose. "George!" he cried. "Make him let me alone, George!" He backed until he was against the wall, and Curly followed, slugging him in the face. Lenny's hands remained at his sides. He was too frightened to defend himself. George was on his feet, yelling, "Get him, Lenny! Don't let him do it!" Lenny covered his face with his huge paws and bleated with terror. He cried, "Make him stop, George!" Then Curly attacked his stomach and cut off his wind. Slim jumped up. "The dirty little rat!" he cried. "I'll get him myself!" George put out his hand and grabbed Slim. "Wait a minute," he shouted. He cupped his hand round his mouth and yelled, "Get him, Lenny!" Lenny took his hands away from his face and looked about for George, and Curly slashed at his eyes. The big face was covered with blood. George yelled again, "I said, get him!" Curly's fist was swinging when Lenny reached for it. The next minute, Curly was flopping like a fish on a line, and his closed fist was lost in Lenny's big hand. George ran down the room. "Let go him, Lenny. Let go." But Lenny watched in terror the flopping little man whom he held. Blood ran down Lenny's face. One of his eyes was cut and closed. George slapped him in the face again, and still Lenny held on to the closed fist. Curly was white and shrunken by now, and his struggling had become weak. He stood crying, his fist lost in Lenny's paw. George shouted over and over, "Let go his hand, Lenny! Let go! Slim, come help me with the guy, the guy got any hand left." Suddenly, Lenny let go of his hand. He crouched, cowering against the wall. "You told me to, George," he said miserably. Curly sat down on the floor, looking in wonder at his crushed hand. Slim and Carlson bent over him. Then Slim straightened up and regarded Lenny with horror. "We got to get him to a doctor," he said. "Looks to me like every bone in his hand is bust." "I didn't wanna," cried Lenny. "I didn't wanna hurt him." Slim said, "Carlson, you get the candy wagon hitched up. We'll take him to Soledad and get him fixed up." Carlson hurried out. Slim turned to the whimpering Lenny. "It ain't your fault," he said. "This punk sure had it coming, but Jesus, he ain't hardly got no hand left." Slim hurried out and in a moment returned with a tin cup of water. He held it to Curly's lips. George said, "Slim, will we get canned now? We need the steak. Will Curly's old man can us now?" Slim smiled wryly. He knelt down beside Curly. "You got your senses in hand enough to listen?" he asked. Curly nodded. "Well, then listen. Slim went on. I think you got your hand caught in a machine. If you don't tell nobody what happened, we ain't going to. But you just tell and try to get this guy canned, and we'll tell everybody, and then you get the laugh. That was hard to read. I won't tell, said Curly. He avoided looking at Lenny. Buggy wheels sounded outside. Slim helped Curly up. Come on now, Carlson's going to take you to a doctor. He helped Curly out the door. The sound of wheels drew away. In a moment, Slim came back into the bunkhouse. He looked at Lenny, still crouched fearfully against the wall. Let's see your hands, he asked. Lenny stuck out his hands. Christ almighty, I hate to have you mad at me, said Slim. George broke in. Lenny was just scared, he explained. He don't know what to do. I told you nobody ought never to fight him. No, I guess it was Candy I told. Candy nodded solemnly. That's just what you done, he said. Right this morning when Curly first lit into your friend, you says, he better not fool with Lenny if he knows what's good for him. That's just what you says to me. George turned to Lenny. It ain't your fault, he says. You don't need to be scared no more. You done just what I told you. Maybe you better go into the washroom and clean up your face. You look like hell. Lenny smiled with his bruised mouth. I don't want no trouble, he said. He walked toward the door, but just before he came to it, he turned back. George? What you want? I can still tend the rabbits, George? Sure, you ain't done nothing wrong. I didn't mean no harm, George. Well, get the hell out and wash your face. And that's where we're going to stop today. Maybe I will be back on Sunday. I cannot guarantee. I will upload this onto YouTube. Same name as this channel, K.A. Reads Classics, all one word, no space. And that's all for today. I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and thank you for reading with me. Bye.